Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and green forests, there lived a young girl named Maya. She was known for her bright smile and kind heart. Maya lived with her grandmother, who was old but wise, and who taught her many valuable lessons about life. Maya's family didn't have much. They lived in a modest house made of wood and stone. It was a simple life, but it was full of love. Every morning, Maya would help her grandmother tend to their little garden, growing vegetables and flowers. The days were often quiet, with the sounds of birds singing and the gentle breeze swaying the trees. However, life was not always easy for Maya. The village was far from the city, and sometimes there were hardships that seemed too difficult to overcome. But Maya always found a way to keep going, no matter what challenges came her way. Her grandmother often told her stories of how she had faced struggles in her youth, but had always found the strength to keep moving forward. One bright sunny day, while Maya was working in the garden, a letter arrived. It was from her school, informing her that the annual village competition was coming up. The competition was a big event, where people showed off their talents in singing, dancing, and even farming. It was a chance to prove one's skills and win a prize. Maya had never entered the competition before, but her grandmother encouraged her to give it a try. "You have a gift, Maya," her grandmother said. "You can do anything if you put your heart into it." Maya felt nervous, but also excited. She had always loved singing, and the thought of standing on stage in front of everyone made her heart race. But there was a problem. Maya had never sung in front of a large crowd before. What if she made a mistake? What if she embarrassed herself? These thoughts filled her mind, and doubt started to creep in. "I'm not good enough," Maya thought as she looked out over the fields, trying to calm her nerves. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned, thinking about the competition. She was afraid of failing, afraid of disappointing her grandmother. But then she remembered what her grandmother had always told her. The key to success is resilience. Life will always test you, but it's how you rise after falling that matters the most. The next morning, Maya woke up with a new sense of determination. She decided that she would practice every day, no matter how hard it was. It wasn't going to be easy, but she knew that with resilience, she could overcome anything. She went to the small pond near her home and started singing. At first, her voice was shaky, but with each passing day, it grew stronger. She sang from morning until sunset, pushing through the doubts and fears. But even with all her practice, Maya still felt unsure. As the competition day drew closer, she began to lose her confidence. She started thinking of all the talented singers in the village, people who had been practicing for years. What if they were much better than her? What if she wasn't good enough? One evening, as Maya was sitting by the fire with her grandmother, she expressed her fears. "Grandma, I'm not sure I can do this. There are so many people who are better than me. What if I fail?" Her grandmother smiled softly and placed a hand on her shoulder. "My dear, failure is not the end. It's simply a part of the journey. You must remember that resilience is not about avoiding failure, but about rising every time you fall. It's about continuing, no matter how hard it gets." Maya's grandmother then shared a story with her. "When I was a young girl, I dreamed of becoming a farmer, growing the best crops in the village. But it wasn't easy. The first year, my crops failed. I didn't give up. The next year, the same thing happened. But I didn't stop. I learned from my mistakes, worked harder, and finally, after many years, I grew the most beautiful vegetables the village had ever seen." That was the power of resilience. It is not the easy path that leads to success, but the hard, difficult road that tests your strength. Maya listened carefully, and for the first time, she felt a spark of hope. She understood that resilience didn't mean being perfect. It meant having the strength to keep going, even when things didn't go as planned. The day of the competition finally arrived. The entire village gathered at the town square, excited for the event. There were bright banners hanging in the air, and the sounds of music filled the streets. Maya stood backstage, her heart racing. She could hear the other contestants singing and dancing with confidence. She was afraid. Her hands shook and her knees felt weak. What if she wasn't ready? But then she remembered her grandmother's words. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and reminded herself that resilience was not about perfection. It was about trying, no matter what. When her turn came, Maya stepped onto the stage. The lights were bright and the crowd was silent. She could see the faces of the villagers, all waiting for her to sing. Maya felt a lump in her throat, but she stood tall. She took a deep breath, just like she had practiced, and began to sing. At first, her voice wavered and she felt nervous. But then something amazing happened. As she sang, she began to lose herself in the music. The fear slowly melted away, and she felt the power of her resilience. She was no longer worried about making mistakes. She was simply singing from her heart, doing her best. The crowd listened in silence, and when she finished, there was a moment of stillness. And then, the entire village erupted into applause. Maya's heart soared. She had done it. She had faced her fears, practiced hard, and never gave up. Her resilience had paid off. Maya didn't win the first prize that day, but it didn't matter. The real victory was in how she had overcome her doubts, fears, and struggles. She had learned that resilience wasn't about winning. It was about having the courage to face challenges head-on and not give up. After the competition, Maya's grandmother hugged her tightly. "You did it, Maya. I am so proud of you. You showed the world the power of resilience." Maya smiled, her heart full of joy. She had discovered something far more valuable than any trophy. She had discovered the strength within herself to keep going, no matter the obstacles. As the years went by, Maya's resilience became her greatest strength. She continued to face challenges with courage and determination. Whenever life threw difficult situations her way, she remembered her grandmother's words and pushed through. And with every step, she became stronger, wiser, and more confident in her ability to overcome anything. Maya's story became an inspiration to the people of the village. They saw that it wasn't the most talented or the most perfect people who succeeded. It was the ones who kept going, no matter how hard the journey was. Maya had taught them all that, with resilience, anything was possible. And so, the village learned the true meaning of resilience. The power to rise, to keep going, and to never give up, no matter what life brings. Maya's story would be remembered for generations, a shining example of how the greatest strength comes from within.